Hey guys, welcome. Good morning or afternoon, I guess. My name is Christine Anderson. I am the Public Affairs and Communications Manager for the Texas Real Estate Commission. And hold on one second. Okay, we've muted everyone. This afternoon, we're joined by two of our attorneys, our newly appointed Enforcement Director, Michael Malloy, and our main presenter today, Ame Cooper. They're going to be talking today about rebate programs, referral programs, and other programs that you might want to be offering your clients. This is the first time we're offering this type of session, so I'd love to hear your feedback as we move forward in this kind of new post-COVID world. Love to hear your feedback about the format, and if you prefer a different format, we're open to trying different things. We usually do these on Facebook Live, but one of the downsides was that we couldn't see you guys, and you guys couldn't necessarily interact with us as well. So we're taking this opportunity to try a different format and see if this one works better. Again, just as a reminder, I am keeping everyone on mute so that I don't have any background noise. And if you have any questions, you can always post those questions in the chat box or unmute yourself to ask the question. But we want to make sure that background noise is kept to a minimum. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Ame to kind of go over the article that was shared in the chat for your reference and get started today. So Ame, can I virtually hand this over to you?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Ame Cooper. I'm a staff attorney in the Enforcement Division. I've been there since 2007. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. If someone has any questions, you can go ahead and ask me as we go. I don't mind that. Mike and I are probably going to go back and forth with the topic a little bit. It's not going to be just me talking at you, I hope. So I'm going to start with rebates. Basically, a rebate is when you give a principal in the transaction part of your commission back when the transaction closes. There's a couple of things you need to keep in mind if you decide to do this. One, when you're advertising it, you need to make it clear if there are any limitations or terms and conditions that a client would have to meet in order to get that rebate. And if you're a sales agent, you need to talk to your broker about it and make sure that this is something that your broker will approve that you can do. If you do offer rebates, it has to go onto the disclosure statement. And if your client is the buyer, you need to make sure that the lender has approved the rebate. Some lenders have limitations on how much a lender can get back from a transaction. So you need to make sure that it's okay for your client to get that rebate in the transaction. If you are paying a rebate to someone you don't represent, you're going to have to get consent from the party that the license holder represents making that payment. Some questions that also come up about rebates is whether or not if you offer a portion of their commission, can you donate it to like a church or some sort of nonprofit? And this would actually be considered a donation, not a rebate, because it's not going to the principal in the transaction. I think that was really the kind of the gist of what's in the article. Mike, did you have anything to add?
Sorry, needed to unmute myself.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have anything really to add more. It's just a lot of times when we see for the rebate situations on complaints that we receive is if there's any certain terms or conditions that need to apply if you're providing that you need to give that stuff to the client up front. So a lot of times we see either confusion that the client didn't qualify for that rebate program that you had gotten approved by your broker, or if your broker, having set out yourself, or maybe there's some sort of miscommunication that there's some understanding that who's going to go get that okay from the lender. If you're going to require a buyer to go do that, then you should be upfront that, you know what, I'm offering this, but
is now joining.
Mr. Buyer, or you need to go to your lender and see if this is okay. They may assume if it's not in your, the fine print that you're going to go do this for them. So I always recommend, if you're going to do rebates, be as transparent as possible and make sure you sit down with your client and walk through what needs to happen for the rebate to be successful, and give them some picture, like, if this doesn't happen, then I won't be able to provide you that. So at least they know what needs to happen up front. So that's about it I have for that.
Hey guys, not to interrupt your presentation, but we already have quite a few questions. I think if just to remind everyone, what we might try to do is just cover the article and then go back in questions, or you guys want to do the questions throughout?
It doesn't matter to me. I don't mind being interrupted, or if you think it'd be easier to wait till the end, it's fine.
No, that's okay. Let's go ahead and see. So I have a question from an A. Crawford here. Can you donate to a nonprofit that the principal is associated with and may directly benefit from? Is that through the CD at, and then the question kind of cuts off, and I'm sorry, we're still learning how to do this. Oh, is that through the CD at closing as well? So yeah, the question is, can you donate to a nonprofit that the principal is associated with and may directly benefit from, is the first question. Mm-hmm. And is that through the closing disclosure, I think is what CD is standing for, at closing as well?
That's a really good question.
Isn't that the best, when the first question out the bat is one that
I know.
Great response by an attorney. Great question.
I know, that's a great question.
Mike or Ame, do you guys want to try to come back to that one if you're not ready to answer it?
I would say, I mean, the nonprofit is already a separate entity legally.
Yeah, so I'm not sure they get a direct benefit from it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. If
they have it set up for their own personal benefit, then I'm not sure that would be qualified as a nonprofit. I mean, right. They would have to make that own tax disclosures on their own, but I'm not a CPA or a tax attorney. So when it comes to amounts you need to give, or the capped amounts you can give people and stuff, I don't have that expertise to give anyone that advice, because I know there's a couple other questions about 1099s and other things. So
yeah, right. I mean, I would say that that's probably okay, because it still counts as a donation. I mean, although like a principal in a transaction may see some benefit, like if it's their nonprofit that it gets money, but they're still a nonprofit. It's really like personal enrichment to that person.
Okay. All right. Mr. or Mrs. Crawford, if we didn't answer your question, let me know, and you can unmute yourself if you want to kind of have a more of a conversation question, but I'm going to move on to Mr. Hilton's question in the meantime. A rebate can be, so he says, and he's quoting the article, a rebate can be cash or anything of value, and there is no limit on the amount of rebate paid to a principal of the transaction. On rebates, you say, all rebates should be reflected in the closing disclosure form, and any cash rebate to a buyer should be made with the consent of the buyer's lender. How do we include a gift, thing of value, not cash, on the closing disclosure? Where is the TREC? Where is this in the TREC rules about including it in the closing disclosure?
So it's not in the TREC rules, because this is covered under other laws. So there's not going to be a directive on where that you have to put it on the closing disclosure in the TREC rules, because those are federal laws that regulate what's required to be on those disclosures. Does that make sense?
that might seem really silly and show my stripes here, but what federal law should they refer to when looking for information about it? Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
RESPA. Yeah.
Okay. Scott, if that doesn't answer your question, let me know. Oh, thumbs up from him. This video.
All right.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Okay. Deborah Shepard says, do you need a 1099 client if you rebate over 600?
You'll have to talk to your tax professional about that.
I mean, I see rebates that are well over $600, but yeah, you need to talk to a tax professional for that implication, and take that in consideration for the buyer too. So.
Oh, and hey guys, two things I forgot to mention. One is that we have one of our new Deputy General Counsel, former Enforcement Director, Mark Moore, on the call, and he is answering some of your questions in the chat if I can't get to them. So thanks, Mark, for joining us. And then we also have one of our commissioners on the call. It looks like, I'm not sure if I see anyone else, but Commissioner Miller is here. So thanks so much for joining us, Commissioner Miller. And she actually asked you guys a question.
She did.
If proof that you gave them conditions in writing, like a brochure attached to an email, proof enough?
Yes, I would say yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ideal, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do that, and then when you're sitting down before they sign a buyer's rep or listing agreement, you may need to go over that with them so they fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. What if we give a rebate to the buyer and the lender knows the amount but not able to use the total amount? What can be done with a balanced amount not used? So
the lender only approves $1,000 versus a $2,000 rebate? Is that?
I'm thinking that's what the question is.
A rebate or referral?
But if Mr. Malik wanted to pose the question verbally or clarify in the chat, that'd be helpful. Great. Scott Hilton says he's checked with his CPA. Okay, several other people asking about 1099 requirements for rebates. Oh yes, Scott Hilton from ESAC is here. Yes, thank you, Scott. And sorry about that, Scott. And then Scott's recommendation for that previous question was about he's recommending updating the contract with the lower amounts as an amendment.
It looks like Mr. Malik responded and said yes.
Yes. So oh, and also, hey, I'm sorry I missed Pim here. One of our staff attorneys, Pim Mayo, is on the call as well. Looks like I'm getting assistance from all over the place on answering these questions. Thank goodness, because they're pretty deep into it for me. So I appreciate our staff attorneys being available to help me with this. So guys, we want to move on to the next section, and I'll let some of the questions build up again for you.
Well, let's go back and answer Mr. Malik's question.
Sure.
So under the scenario, if the lender only limits you to giving a $1,000 rebate, then that's the only part of your commission that you can rebate to them. So you're limited by that.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, I didn't realize that had not been circled back.
Yeah.
So Mr. Malik, the question is rightly interpreted that if a rebate is promised for $2,000 and the lender is not able to adjust complete but $1,000.
Yeah, so the rebate would be limited to $1,000.
Okay. Mark Moore is saying there was a question about CE. If somebody else, if you can repose that question, guys, I've lost it in the chat. Sorry about that. And then let's go ahead and move on while I'm waiting for that one.
Okay, so let's talk about referrals as our next topic. So a referral is a part of your commission that you give to another person for sending that client to you. So in order to receive a referral, you also have to have a real estate license. However, A license holder can give an unlicensed person a gift or a gift card that's worth up to $50, as long as it can't be converted to cash. Otherwise, that would be considered unlicensed activity. So, I mean, I guess really one of the big things has come up as my time during an attorney is that for some reason, people confuse this with gifts that they can give to their clients, which are totally separate items. And we're going to talk about gifts a little bit later. But the whole thing with giving a referral does require a license, which is why we place this limitation on giving some sort of help, some thank you to an unlicensed person for referring business to you. And that's why there's that cap. And so it's not considered valuable consideration. Because otherwise you can get in trouble for paying money to someone that has a license, and they can also get in trouble for collecting a commission without a license, which are both violations.
Yep.
Okay. Charlotte Lace asks, are referral fees required to be on the CD?
Well, I can answer. I mean, usually a referral happens in a different time. It's not usually in the transaction. So, I mean, you got like a friend that refers something to you, or someone comes to you. That's the scenarios I see that happen. I mean, I'm not out there, but that's where I think some of the, like May was talking about, the confusion between some other kind of promotion. This person may have been a client at some point, but they're not really a client anymore, and they bring a friend that's looking to sell their house or something like that. Sometimes you want to thank that person for it, so the most you can do in that type of situation is give them that $50 gift card. But for other promotions, that's something that kind of happens right after right during the transaction, like completion after the closing. It's like, it's purely good, a thank you.
So Charlotte says that she's talking about referrals to other brokers.
Oh, okay. So since they're broker to broker, she's talking about two brokers. That's outside of the transaction. That's not part of the closing that I'm aware of. So
no, I don't believe so either.
Because
it doesn't need to be on it.
A lot of situations. I mean, some of the situations we see is like a foreign broker, per chance. They bring in a client from a different state that they're not licensed in, and they partner with that Texas broker, but they have that outside agreement that once the Texas broker does all the brokerage activity, it goes to that Texas broker, and then they have that contractual obligation with that foreign broker to give the referral amount, and that can be of any amount, whatever they agree. Because once it gets to the broker, it's money. It was commission at some point, but that other broker didn't perform any brokerage activity, so it's purely a contract. And the License Act allows someone that's licensed in a different jurisdiction to get a larger amount of a commission from it, or larger amount of the referral fee, I should say, to clarify.
So Charlotte followed up with, this is not covered by RESPA, ? I'm assuming.
We can't answer questions about RESPA. We can only answer questions about the License Act and the commission's rules. So,
spoken like an attorney. But fair enough. So let's go ahead and move on. There's still a couple of little conversations going on, but I think we're ready to move on to the other programs.
Okay. So I was going to do this. I've seen lots of questions about this over the years. People call up and say, the typical, email we get or phone call is, hey, I have I've always had this one or any client, and I want to, get them a Home Depot gift card or something. Is that okay? It may be over the $50, and that's a gift. it's not, pending upon some sort of agreement that you have with that person prior to the transaction happening. It's purely, a thank you. I would recommend doing something like a home center gift card or something like that, because when you get into cash and other things, they may not know necessarily what to do with it. I know there's some people that offer, and it's perfectly fine for the rules, even up front, use me as a broker, and if we close on transaction, I'll buy you guys a new refrigerator or a washer and dryer. I mean, those kind of promotions don't fall into the referral $50 thing. I think that's a lot of the confusion happens is people kind of fixate on the $50 and they think that applies to anything they give to a client. The big difference is this is for the referrals. It's a unlicensed person doing something that requires a license. Where in the promotion and gift situation, in most cases, at least such examples I was giving a moment ago, those are just a thank you gift. Yeah. Now, other ones that we like outline here, which I've seen more and stuff that you may need to be careful about is, you have a listing and you want someone to like it and refer it in order to get into a drawing of some kind, then that you're kind of getting that person to do some sort of possible unlicensed activity, like brokerage activity, to get a benefit, a possible benefit, which would be like a drawing.
So like if I'm sorry, let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So if somebody posts like on social media, share my listing and be entered into a drawing for a new car. Let's say you're really doing well.
We've seen that. We've seen cruises, other stuff. So.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Designer shoes.
Yeah, designer shoes was one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would fall into the referral category because the person they're actually trying to get a client for that person by sharing the listing. Now, if they're just doing it out of like an agent's like, please, I'm just starting out, it's my first listing, please share this, and there's no and people on their friends list or their connections just share it out of no expectation of something in return or anything or a possibility, then that's perfectly fine. But inducing someone to do something that requires a license, that's where you get in trouble.
And also there's another element to that is running these types of giveaways and stuff actually can be a criminal offense too. So.
Yeah, we don't. Well, the legal lottery.
Legal lottery. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Under the penal code, Texas penal code. So
if you call it a sweepstakes instead.
We don't.
That's something you would have to double check on before you did it.
We don't
didn't violate the other laws. Yeah.
I think usually they're okay in many considerations, but you need to make sure before you do something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It looks like I don't know. Wait. Carolyn. Denise asked, can we ask people to go to our page and enter their email address for a drawing for a box of donuts, for example?
That's probably okay. So
we can see your brains working.
I'm just trying to think of all the factors, but they're not doing anything besides providing their information. So
well, and I don't think that donuts, as great as they are, qualify as valuable consideration, unless it's a really big box of donuts.
Lifetime supply of donuts.
Supply is.
Yeah.
Okay. Great question, Denise. Thank you. And then Carolyn McNabb asks, so after the fact of closing, unexpected repair comes up and contributing $500 is okay, or having to pay to help someone move, okay? Is that okay? I think is what she's saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that offer to pay for their moving fees. I've seen that over the years, you know, as just part of your advertisement, you know, sign up with me. I think a lot of apartment finders, they'll offer that. Like, you know, they'll get you a free mover. They'll pay for that, and that's perfectly fine because that's a gift just to use your services. But yeah, if you're a sales agent starting out, and I know it's tough, and just make sure you run it by your broker so they're okay with it, because they may have policies and procedures, and they want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So that's why I always recommend that they know what you're doing. To, you know, I know you starting out sales agent, and anyone go, they want to, you know, be successful, and that's perfectly fine. But you have your broker there as a resource to help you out.
Right. So I have one question from Scott Hilton, who says, sorry, Scott, I thought it was you were referencing back a rule to somebody else's question. That's why I missed it this last time. Sorry. A license holder may give an unlicensed person a gift or gift card worth up to $50. The card may only be redeemable for merchandise. A gift card from a bank that can be converted into cash is impermissible. Do these two statements contradict each other? Where is this in the TREC rules about the gift card from the bank?
So this goes back to the rule where you can only give someone a gift or something that has a retail value of $50. So if you gave someone a bank card that you could like use as a debit card, that would be like giving them cash money. So I don't think those things actually contradict each other.
So, okay, I think we had seen a spot somewhere where the bank card can be cashed. So thanks for the clarification. Okay.
Yeah. So you'd have to be, if you could use a bank card as long as you can only use that bank card to buy things. So if you can use it as a debit card, then it's not permissible.
Okay.
Yeah. So if like you're at the grocery store and you can pull out that amount, you know, as the extra cash, that type of situation.
Get cash back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see. I don't think I have any other questions right now. Last question, Scott's now asking. Guys, as we're going through the conversation, if you feel like you don't want to write out your whole question, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask the question. I'm more than happy to have other people ask questions verbally. But Scott says, can you repeat everything you said? Just kidding. Perfect. Thanks, Scott.
Edwin
is now exiting.
Okay. So somebody said that's interesting on the bank card question, and they're laughing at us now, guys.
As they should.
We knew this was going to be an interesting new format to try out. So, do you guys have any other FAQs about this, or any other scenarios that typically come up in your conversations, or things that people have run into that don't seem quite so obvious that they should or should not be doing?
Well, one thing to consider is, it's multifaceted, and that's why we said have some sort of brochure or the terms and conditions up front, because if they're not there and you fiddle with it later on, or if they're not clear in the advertisement itself, it could be a misleading advertisement type of situation. So you get yourself in possible further trouble by having a misleading advertisement, and then if you don't perform as the person thought you would on the rebate or the agreement that you had, then you could have other possible violations, negligence and stuff. So that's why, I just keep circling back, be upfront and give the terms up front and make sure they really understand it. Because I've seen situations where they'll give the terms and conditions over text between two people, and
Oh, great.
it's just not a very good way
Yeah.
to do it. Like, have something written and typed out that says this needs to happen. It's a lot easier and it's a lot clearer.
So something that is an interesting question from me as a consumer. So is there any information that is like that as a consumer we should expect up front? Like, so for example, my realtor, during the course of getting the house inspected, there's other people that need to come in and out of the house that are doing services through the house. Let's say it's an additional inspection, for example, or I need to get some electrical work done. And I asked my realtor, hey, do you know anyone? And he sends someone over. He says, yeah, I got this guy. And he sends someone over. And it's before the closing. Does he need to disclose that, like, he might have some sort of beneficial relationship between those two parties? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like part of the closing process. Like, in order to get the house to close, part of the negotiation process is repairs being done. Mm-hmm. And so, but the guy I'm using is a referral from my agent. Does that need to be disclosed in any way?
So that just so I'm clear, so you're the seller, you have to get repairs made before closing, and you get a recommendation from your agent, and you use that person. Mm-hmm. Do they have any type of relationship with that person? Like,
that's what I'm saying is, if they have a relationship with them, does it need to be disclosed?
Like, is it their company or something like that?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, really the problem that we see a lot is that agents refer like their clients to people to get repairs done, and they don't disclose to their client that they're getting some sort of benefit to it, or there's some sort of conflict of interest, like a spouse is the person that they're referring. Right. I mean, that's more likely to happen. You would definitely have to let your client know that you have some sort of relationship with that person, like if it's your spouse or your, close relative or something like that.
Right.
Mike, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's straightforward. I think Commissioner Miller asked a question about how frequently we get these questions. Hello, Commissioner Miller. The reason why May wrote this article, and I added a little bit to it and stuff, but we've seen over the years with the economy and how it, if it goes up and down, these types of promotions and stuff become more prevalent because people are trying to generate business. Mm-hmm. So that's why that was one of the reasons why.
What's happening with the economy right now, Mike?
There's
something dramatic happening in the world right now.
Everything's fine. Everything's totally fine.
But okay. So we see a bit of an uptick usually in these types of questions or complaints. Mm-hmm. We don't get a whole lot of these types of complaints filed, but it's not an uncommon complaint filed.
And who's usually doing complaint filing? Who's the people that are usually doing it? Is it
the person that didn't receive the rebate that thought they are entitled to it?
Yeah.
Got it. So
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. I have actually a couple of follow-up questions, and this is both on the rebates. And I agree, number one, that you should always consult a tax attorney or a tax accountant first before you do anything. Going back to the 1099s, by issuing a 1099 to your client, isn't that contradictory to what the IRS has already published related to commission rebates?
I don't, we can't answer those questions.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't answer tax questions, so.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
It's just I wanted to make sure, because there is a publication on the IRS that specifically discusses 1099s.
Okay.
So that's one question. And then second question goes back to what someone else had actually asked earlier. If you have two buyers, one that's going through a loan process, another one that's going through a cash process, if you're giving a rebate to both of them, that's supposed to be the same amount. However, with the loan, you can only give X or Y amount, whereas on the cash, you can give the full amount. Isn't that an unfair advantage to the buyer that's providing a cash transaction?
I mean, it's possible, but I mean, that would be
I mean, that's when you're offering rebates, that's one of the things you need to warn your client of, is that there's potential limitations by their lender. So they should be aware of that possibility going into it. That's why we're talking about how you need to let your client know in writing what types of limitations there may be on your offer.
But I mean, you're not talking about a buyer and two buyers in the same situation, are you?
Same dollar amount. Let's say the sales price is $300,000, and one's providing a cash transaction where you're giving a rebate of, let's say, $3,000, whereas the other one is a finance transaction where you're trying to give a rebate of $3,000. However, the lender only allows for $1,000 or $2,000.
Yeah, you'll just have to inform the people, even though you're offering up to $3,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
It may not be available depending on whatever their lender's limitations are.
That's a good point.
I mean,
One more,
it's important to damper their expectations in situations, so they're not expecting that type of money as some sort of, not necessarily windfall, but something they can bank on using after the transaction closes or something like that. So
sure. That's a very good point. One more final question. I know there's 11 states in the country that already limit the amount of rebates and so forth. Is Texas leaning towards that? And if so, when are we doing that?
I'm not aware of that.
I'm not aware of any discussions about that, but
Okay, that's fine. No, that's absolutely understandable. Yeah.
We follow the direction of the commission, and the commission is appointed by the governor. So
okay, no, I appreciate that. Thank you, though.
But if you have comments about those, I mean, it's free that you can always send those in to our general counsel. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Crawford or Miss Crawford asked my question regarding the donation to nonprofit that principal would directly benefit from is more in regards to donating to a school, and the teacher would be able to use the classroom supplies, for example. Can it be donated in their name, and would this be on the closing disclosure, or is it better? Or is there a better way to handle this? Can a donation be advertised? So
I see donations to schools all the time. So
so
I mean,
if you're saying that's not something that like somebody would be directly benefiting from, like a nonprofit, I think this person is the same person that asked the question before about would they be directly benefiting from. So you're saying in this case, no, they're not. It's not like the nonprofit is Christine Anderson's nonprofit and you're giving it to me. This is going to a school, and yes, this person benefits from it, but kind of indirectly.
So the only thing that I would be careful of, and when you're advertising donations like this, is that, it can't be, you have to be careful if it's like connected to like a referral for business, because there could be some sort of direct benefit in that situation. But if you're saying like, if you use my services, I'm going to make this donation like to the school of your choice or something like that, that would be permissible.
Yeah. And that's one of the more common non-for-profit type of donation things that I kind of see. So.
Mhm.
Okay, looks like that's all the questions for right now that I have in the chat. Do you guys have any other topics or things that you see commonly that you wanted to cover?
I guess like one of the things I really would like to kind of reiterate again is that if you do decide to use these type of promotions or make these type of offers, if you're a sales agent, to talk to your broker before you do it. Because we've seen complaints where someone's offered a rebate and their broker didn't approve it. You know, so you really you need to talk to your broker before you start doing any type of promotion, because it also ties into your advertising that they should be looking at before you publish it too.
And if the broker hadn't seen it, for example, and there is a complaint about that, is the broker liable?
Yes.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah.
So the lesson there is make sure that as a broker, you're aware of what your agents are doing and vice versa.
Because we've had cases in the past where the broker didn't know about the rebate, and whatever the agreement was on the split of it, basically it changed or altered, and the broker kept more, and so then the sales agent didn't have the amount to rebate, but they didn't have the agreement with their broker to do the rebate. So the sales agent kind of, they wanted to do it. I mean, they wanted to give the rebate, but they didn't have the money to do so. But that's why they should have gotten the approval from their broker up front to do it.
That gets messy quick.
Yeah.
So I have one comment here. Christine, when recommending lenders to clients, is there a requirement to advertise client if one of the lenders is a relative? So I read that question funny. Basically, they're asking if they're related to the lender, do they need to advertise that to their client?
And there's not really anything in the rules that requires that, but it's a good practice to do so, because if you don't disclose that type of relationship and something goes wrong, it can cause more problems. So you should just avoid a potential conflict of interest by going ahead and disclosing that up front.
Yeah, and Mark Moore is on our chat, and something that I just want to, he definitely is correct in this. If you're having a question whether or not you should disclose it, it doesn't hurt to do so. So just go ahead and make sure you disclose it.
Yeah, I think Scott highlighted that too. If you really have some doubt, just disclose it.
Yeah, it never hurts to do it, and it doesn't usually take that much extra effort to do so. And Commissioner Miller obviously earlier today laid out a great way to do that, which is by having everything laid out and attached to it.
Yes.
So anything else you guys wanted to cover today?
I don't think so.
Does anyone, I'm going to give a couple more minutes to have people pose questions or thoughts or comments while I wrap this up. So give me just a minute to address anyone's questions before we end this. I am going to be resharing this video on all of our platforms. So it'll be on the website, it'll be on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter. So if you found this helpful, you can go back and we'll have this video posted hopefully later today, if not tomorrow, for you to be able to share it with anyone that wasn't able to attend this live. If you liked this format, please let me know. We're definitely trying to make this more accessible. One of our feedback, some of the feedback we got was that by doing this on Facebook, if you didn't have a Facebook account, you couldn't attend. And so we're hoping that maybe this is a little bit easier for people that don't use Facebook to access us and be able to participate in these events. Moving forward, okay, I don't think we got any more questions, just some thank yous. I want to, a couple of people want to know who should they follow up with if they do have specific questions. What phone number or email address should they reach out to?
I mean, you can sit in the enforcement inbox. I mean, we have just to give you an idea, like the resources that we do. I mean, we have a staff attorney that is there. We're all kind of virtual right now, but answering emails Monday through Friday. We prefer the emails. If we need to call you, just leave your phone number for a callback number, and then we can call you to get further details. My email is on the website, I believe, so if you feel like emailing me directly, you're more than welcome. I'm Michael Malloy at trec.texas.gov. So,
and
but
we always, what's that enforcement email address as well? You said just the enforcement inbox, but just to make sure.
It's enforcement at TREC, TREC .texas spelled out .gov, GOV.
So we can answer any questions you have about the commission's rules and the License Act pertaining to this. If it's beyond that, we're probably not going to be very helpful. So I just want to be clear about that up front.
And one other thing to remind people of, we have a pretty extensive list of FAQs on our website. Mark's mentioned it a few times in the chat, but just in case you're not reading that, we've got a pretty good list of FAQs, and one of the ways that you can search our FAQs is by keyword. So if you press Control F on the FAQ page, a search box will show up and you'll be able to search by keyword. So you can put in a keyword that you're looking for and find all the relative FAQs, or you can also filter them by topic as well. So just a little hint there, if you're looking for this kind of information or any other topic for that matter, enforcement has a good amount of FAQs on the website to help people out. Oh yes, so Mark also reminded us that on the homepage, and I believe on every page, there's a site search at the top of the website, and you can search for keywords there too. And also another avenue to ask questions to, if you think that it's related to it, you could also send a question to our general counsel inbox. Mark Moore is one of our general counsels. We have two. General counsel so it's general.counsel@trec.texas.gov. And again, just a reminder, we don't give legal advice. So we're not going to, tell you how to set up your business or your tax information. But if it's directly related to our License Act, I'm sure our attorneys would be more than happy to help you. And just as a little aside, in case you're curious, all of our staff is actually working up and running. The agency's working hard as ever, even though we're all virtual now. So we are here answering questions, doing emails. Our staff has been doing a great job of keeping on top of that. So if you're concerned about any of that, we are there. We're processing information, answering questions, answering the phone. So just a friendly reminder that even though we might not be in the office and our backgrounds look a little different these days, we're here to help. Oh, we have 3 general counsels. Thank you, Mark, for the correction. I'm sorry. We have 1 general counsel, Vanessa Burgess, and then 2 deputy general counsels, Mark Moore and Catherine Santos, who just joined the team. I am sorry about that. Yes, you're right, Mark. So I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy schedules to join us today. I really want to thank Ame and Mike for taking the time to explain this topic. Clearly, it's a dense one with lots of gray areas, so it was a good one to dive into. And as far as future content goes, I try to advertise an article and content and meetings like this well in advance to give you plenty of time to get ready to join us. And hopefully next month we'll continue this kind of format until we're back in person. But I'm not sure what the next topic is going to be to answer your question shortly. But I will let you know as soon as I know. So again, Mark and Ame, thank you so much for joining us. You did a great job. This is tough doing it all virtually.
It was fun.
It's fun.
I feel kind of like I miss people around me a little bit, but full disclosure, it's the quietest my house has been in several months. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today, and we'll see you again soon, okay?
All right,
bye guys.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. Thank you.